From the coffee you're sipping right now to the phone in your hand, pretty much everything we use is the final stop on this incredibly complex global journey. Today, we're going to dive into how artificial intelligence is basically rewiring those global supply chains, shifting them from a state of constantly putting out fires to one of intelligently predicting what's next. Let's see how it actually works.
So just take a second and think about that. The phone in your pocket, it's probably got components from dozens of countries. Every single part has its own timeline, its own specs, and its own set of risks. It's this mind-bogglingly complex web that, honestly, just works invisibly in the background of our lives. But what happens when that system breaks? Well, the harder reality is that the systems we all depend on are fragile. We've all seen it firsthand, right? With pandemics, geopolitical shakeups, and just crazy weather events. These disruptions have thrown a huge spotlight on the fact that the old ways of managing all this complexity just aren't cutting it anymore. The whole system is dangerously brittle. And that brittleness, it leads to what you could call the chain reaction problem. So let's dig into exactly why the old playbook is failing in this new kind of volatile world we're living in. This slide really nails the core issue. See, traditionally, supply chain management has been completely reactive. It's all based on historical data on what happened last year. This means companies usually find out about a problem, like a supplier shutting down or a major shipping delay, only after it's already causing chaos. It's literally like driving your car while only looking in the rearview mirror. You'll see the crash, but way too late to do anything about it. So how do we start looking forward, out the windshield instead of just in the rearview? Well, this is where artificial intelligence steps in, offering a totally fundamental shift, a whole new model. And let's be clear, when we talk about AI here, we're not talking about sci-fi robots. It's about using these incredibly powerful algorithms to analyze massive, and I mean massive amounts of data, way more than any human team could ever hope to process. It's the tool that lets companies start building these super resilient and efficient operations because they can finally see what's coming instead of just reacting to what already happened. Okay, so that all sounds great in theory, but what does it actually look like in the real world? Let's break down the specific tools AI is using to make this a reality right now. First up, let's talk about demand forecasting. AI algorithms can look at way more than just past sales. They're analyzing things like local weather patterns, what's trending on social media, even big regional events, all to predict what customers are going to want to buy. A perfect example is Walmart. They use machine learning to forecast demand right down to a single store, making sure the right stuff is on the shelf right when you walk in. Next, think of AI as a global watchdog. It is constantly scanning news feeds, social media, all kinds of data sources for the earliest signs of trouble. A potential strike at a key shipping port, political unrest in a manufacturing hub, or a hurricane forming in the Atlantic. This gives companies a critical heads up so they can get their backup plans in motion before the disruption even hits. Then you've got the actual physical journey of the goods. With AI, you don't just plan one route and stick to it. Oh no, the system is constantly recalculating the best route. It's looking at real-time traffic, weather conditions, how full the truck is, and delivery priorities to find the absolute most efficient route on the fly. And we're not just talking about minor tweaks here. For a company like UPS, this kind of optimization means saving millions of gallons of fuel. That's a huge win for their bottom line. And, of course, a massive win for the environment. And finally, AI is what keeps the actual machinery of the supply chain humming along. By analyzing data from sensors on factory equipment, trucks, and ships, it can actually predict when a part is about to fail. This means maintenance can be scheduled before a costly breakdown brings everything to a grinding halt. Of course, bringing AI into a company isn't as simple as flipping a switch. You can't just sprinkle some AI dust and hope for the best. It takes a really thoughtful, strategic approach. So how do companies actually get this done? Well, the path usually follows this four-step blueprint, and it has to start with data quality. You know the saying, garbage in, garbage out. From there, companies prove the concept with small, focused pilot projects. Then comes the tricky part, getting the shiny new AI tools to talk to all the older systems. And finally, it's about building up the human talent, the data scientists and analysts who can actually drive this whole thing forward. And it's so important to be realistic about the challenges. Companies often struggle because their data is stuck in different departments that don't talk to each other. We call these data silos. Then there's the human element of getting everyone on board, the sheer technical complexity of it all, and a very real shortage of people who have that perfect mix of supply chain knowledge and AI expertise.
So, after a company navigates all those challenges, where is this all headed? What's the next big leap? Well, the future looks even more automated and a whole lot more intelligent.
We're really moving toward a future autonomous supply chains. Just imagine a network that can pretty much run itself, automatically adjusting to shifts in demand, supply issues, and external shocks with very little human oversight. These systems are being designed to constantly learn and get better all on their own.
And a huge piece of this future, a really crucial piece, is sustainability. AI is going to be an absolutely critical tool for helping companies shrink their carbon footprint and slash waste. It can optimize not just for cost and speed, but for environmental impact too, which, as we all know, is becoming a non-negotiable for modern business.
So make no mistake, this isn't some distant, far-off future we're talking about. This transformation is happening right now. The companies that are jumping on these technologies are building a massive competitive advantage. So the question is no longer if AI will transform supply chains, but how quickly your organization can adapt to actually harness its power.